going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the StayWeighedIn podcast. I'm joined by my co-host, the legend himself, Sugar Ray. How are you doing, man?
Doing all right, thank you, man. Fresh stream and that, feeling good, feeling great. Come
I
back
was gonna,
from come back from the fight, so
I was gonna say,
yeah,
was the
feeling
fresh
good.
stream there for the fight? Fresh stream for the fight.
Yeah, Saturn's got a busy week ahead, so I thought, let me go, trim myself up for the week ahead. So yeah, feeling good, man. How about yourself?
I'm all good. I'm all good. It's been a more quiet weekend. I know Benavides fought.
Hmm.
Nice, simple, straight victory for him. But aside from that, nice, easy weekend for me where I can sleep on a kind of a normal schedule. But yeah, let's do
Nice,
it. Let's
nice.
get into what we're here for today. And we did a big video earlier on during the week about this fight. And we're here to recap Buatsi versus Richards. And let's just start it off right now. Joshua Buatsi, unanimous decision victory over Craig Richards. And I guess I want to know your opinions, Ray. Being there live,
Yeah.
did you think this was the fair result? And if it was, how impressed were you about Joshua Buatsi going the distance and being able to hold his own in this particular fight?
I think it was a fair result, barring one judge that had it 116, 112, which I think was criminal. At most, there was 2 rounds between them that could have gone either way. And I feel like being in there, and me and you had the discussion just before we came on. From what I've seen online, a lot of people complain about the zone commentary and the bias towards Buatsi, because some of the people online are saying that like Buatsi was up by like 4 rounds, and I'm like, listen, that you lot need to give Craig Richards his credit. If you have a bias towards Buatsi, I hear that, that's fair enough, but it's just like, if you're gonna say you've got a bias, say that first, because to say he was up by 4 rounds, for me, there wasn't enough clean cut rounds for that. And I want Buatsi to do well. Listen, fellow GH brethren, I want him to get that world title. I want the best for him. I think he's got potential to go to the highest, and I want him to reach that potential. But we also got to be honest in our assessment. And I feel like it was a very good, like, technical back and forth. That's what I liked about the fight. It wasn't just your typical, like, it wasn't just a blowout, and it wasn't just like a slugfest. When people talk about wars, normally they want to see a slugfest, where this was like both of them were showing like their technical prowess, a lot of boxing IQ, like playing to their strengths. I think what helped JB a lot for me though was his power. His punches had a bit more pop on them than Craig Richards' punches had on the opposite way. But what I will say I loved about both of them is that we were saying in the crowd that both of them are spiteful finishers, and if someone sees the other hurt, they're gonna go for it. And man, whenever one had the other hurt, the other person would like counter straight away.
I was just gonna just say literally that point. I remember Buatsi had Richards hurt, and then he's just flipped the table on him, and he's got back. And I'm just thinking, how's this possible? Like you're meant to now going for the kill, and you're
Yeah.
down and out. But yeah, now carry on. Sorry.
No, it's cool. Like honestly, it was just a thing of every single time he would hit a punch. Like let's say Buatsi had Richards hurt. As soon as you think you've got him wobbled, Richards will come straight away with a counter. Like he doesn't even give you the chance to like swarm in on him. Counter straight away, bam, bam. And the same way, like Richards was catching Buatsi with a lot of good uppercuts throughout. And as soon as Richards would try to go in and try to infight, Buatsi would absolutely just throw some leather for hell hooks, boom, boom, like stop man straight away. It was like the counter reactions, like bam, bam, bam. As soon as he hits, like right hook lands cleanly, the other come back, left hook, bang, like, and it was just a case of do not let the other person know that you're hurt. And I think both of them, like, what an account they put for themselves. And obviously, there's winners, there's losers. Buatsi won, but I feel like Craig Richards' stocks went up. I think now people should need to start put more respect on his name. And this thing that we proposed in the past regarding like a British Super Six could come more into fruition. And
It's
you got
there.
to give credit to Eddie Hearn for making this fight, because a lot of promoters are not gonna put their like. Let's be real. Buatsi is their guy. That's their number one guy. He's the one that they put a lot of money in. He's the one that they wanna push to the moon. And I feel like a lot of promoters wouldn't have put Buatsi in there with someone like Craig Richards, because that could be a banana peel. And, you know, Eddie Hearn made it happen. And man, what a fight it was, what a night it was. I think the British probably need to appreciate this more. Craig Richards, I feel like, didn't lose too much stock. I hope it's put people, giving him higher stock and a lot of people. I feel like I said, this British Super Six, let's get it going. Let's have big domestic nights like that at the O2 or wherever. I know that Matchroom also got Callum Smith on the book, so whether they want to watch match Callum Smith with Buatsi or Richards, then that'll be a good fight. Even though people, they give Callum Smith a lot more credit than I would like. At light heavyweight anyway, I get what he's done at super middle, but light heavyweight, he hasn't really said too much for me to be giving him as much ratings as other people are, but here we are.
So I want to touch on a couple of things you said. The first thing about the scoring. And the reason I said this because we said it off air, but I'd like for you to speak on this here and talk about the bias. For me, I think when you watch something live, it's you and your eyes only. You're not influenced by anything. Whereas when you're watching it on at home, like I was, you hear commentary, and then I think you hear a specialist's scorecards. In this case, it was Tony Bellews. And if my memory serves me correctly, the first half, at the very least, all scored towards Buatsi.
Criminal.
So for someone watching the fight who's built into the hype but isn't, I guess, the biggest boxing fan, or is a casual or is learning the sport, how much influence does somebody who's a professional then gain on them to not be able to make their own decision? And two, I want to talk about the power you mentioned. I felt like Buatsi, I felt like Richards felt Buatsi's power a lot more later into the fight. But once he saw that, he was able to realize, I can feel your power. I'm good. Let me fight back. And I think Richards, for me, started a little bit slow. But when it got, as the fight progressed, because I remember Buatsi was fighting on the inside, hitting him with some hooks and stuff. I was just thinking, Richards is taking this quite comfortably. Do you think Richards might have started a little too slow because Buatsi showed the aggression earlier on?
To the first point regarding commentary, that happens a lot, especially in boxing. And I felt like them days were over with. I remember back in the day, I used to watch Pacquiao on HBO. I remember sometimes watching Pacquiao fight, and I just have to watch it on silence because the commentary. No, it's like Pacquiao could throw 4 punches, one of them lands. They'd be like, "Oh, what a flurry by Pacquiao! He lands all the punches." I'm like, "No, he did." Like, I can blatantly see with my own eyes he's not landing all of them. And I feel like yesterday as well, watching it, there was a lot of the time when Buatsi would do a flurry, and then he will hit Rich with a power punch, but then all the rest of them, you'll see like Richards was there doing a shoulder roll, a lot of them not really landing. And even the replays that they would show during the minute break, you would see it again. Like Richards, a lot of the time, even in the fight where we thought, oh, Richards might have been hurt, you're like, oh crap, like that uppercut didn't land, or that swing after didn't land. But yeah, it was frustrating a bit. But do I feel like Richards started slow? I say no, he was just cautious of the power, because even in the first round, it was a good back and forth. And then I remember like the last minute or so, Buatsi lands a right hand that like pushes Richards back, and it was like a big thud. And I think that's at that point where everyone's thinking, okay, it might be an early night for Richards. And then I think Richards kind of needed to take that punch just to be like, all right, this is his power. I know how much power he's got, but he's also like, in certain situations, when people say he's starting slow, it's not that he's starting slow. It's just that you can't, when you feel someone's power that early, you cannot go in there just thinking, let me go into a firefight with him, because you have to be cautious of, okay, this guy's got power to shut me down, so let me adjust my game plan. And I feel like Richard did adjust his game plan. The only thing that wasn't working on Richard's side is that when he was landed on Buatsi, he doesn't have the same pop in his punches. But that's life. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like Richard sometimes deviated away from the straight punches. I feel like the straight punches were a lot of the time going through Buatsi's guard. And I feel like that's probably one thing that Virgil Hunter was saying in the press conference, that they have to take maybe one more fight just to get to fix certain kinks with Joshua Buatsi, because that straight punch was going through a bit too many times. And if you do that against Bivol, as we saw against Canelo, Bivol will punish you because that's his bread and butter, the straight punches.
I was
And
gonna
I feel
say,
like Craig Richards was catching Buatsi with that too many times.
I was just gonna say, Bivol, the way he broke Canelo's guard, it was like something that I've never seen before. To the point where Canelo genuinely, like, his hands were like, right, I'm just gonna have to take these shots.
Yeah, he was
Even
going
then,
around his guard with the left hook and everything.
even then, I will say, when you look back, them shots, a lot of them shots still aren't hitting, but to the naked eye, it actually looked like it was. But there were quite a few shots.
Yeah, I'll give credit to Canelo. I'll give credit to
And
Canelo
I've
for
seen
that.
a few angles now, and I'm like, wait a minute. Even though Bivol won the fight, we
Like
did.
you can understand Canelo's gripe when Canelo was just like, I didn't lose by that many rounds. At first, people were just like, oh, Canelo's been a sore loser. But you're right. When you watch the replay, you kind of realize that, do you know what? In like a 4 like or 6 punch flurry, Canelo might have only got hit by 2
Yeah.
and missed a lot, but people weren't really looking into it. But the right winner won anyway, so I'm not too fussed about that.
No, I do want to talk about after the fight because there's two things I want to talk about. One, I want to talk about the respect between both guys. I know we see it a lot where there's a lot of trash talking to build up the fight, the face off itself, the actual weigh-in, everything about it. That brought up great atmosphere, great intensity. After the fight, for me, it's been a while since I've seen that type of respect between two guys. Were you surprised at the amount of respect you saw after the fight between both guys? Because there was a point, if I'm not wrong, Buatsi gets on his knees and he just shows respect to Craig Richards. Both of them holding their hands up, and not in a case of we each won the fight, but in a respect way. Were you surprised at the amount of respect shown at the end of the fight between both guys?
Nah, absolutely not. I think both of them, even going into the fight, I feel like what needs to be appreciated more by the public is intensity over this normal trash talk. Because what annoys me a lot of the time with some of the casuals is that they'll get upset when they're like, "Oh my gosh, these fighters are just pushing each other. It's all fake. No one believes you're really that angry." You know, when they're pushing each other at the press conferences and everything, everyone will always say it's fake. But then when there's genuine intensity, you like casuals don't want to care. So then obviously people are going to do the fake pushing stuff because that's what gets your attention. But then these are the same casuals that then be like, "Oh, boxing's dead," which is for at least the last 2 years that's been a lie. But they'll be like, "Oh yeah, boxing's dead, it's this, that, and a third." And you just got a bunch of people that don't know what they want. And I feel like this match was very good in showing that you can be respectful, but both guys came in with an intensity of, I'm gonna be the winner. And if you know about like that light heavyweight scene anyway, a lot of those guys coming from South London, they all knew each other growing up. I believe that they fought each other in the amateurs as well. If you've been around boxing events in London, like you will see them around. Like there's been many. I think when me and Andy went to the Chamberlain fight in December, like you'll see a lot of like South London based fighters. So you'll see Buatsi in the crowd there. Sometimes you go to other events, you see Richard, you see both of them. Like they all know they're all like part of the same group growing up. So a lot of the time it's not going to be trash talk in a sense of not liking each other, but more just intensity of backing themselves. And I feel like hopefully this sets a precedent for people to like want to fight the best in this country, because I still think it can be lucrative. I still feel like even without a world title, we can still make it lucrative in fighting the best, because it reminds me of how America is in like a lot of the southern states. You got a lot of these fighters like Errol Spencer's of the world, for example, where he may not be the biggest pay-per-view draw yet, but he draws a big crowd in the southern like Texas area. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's,
If I'm not
sorry, go ahead.
wrong, it's the stadium that he fought. So
Yeah, he fights in Cowboy Stadium.
Cowboy Stadium. So, and that's a big venue.
Do you get what I'm saying? And I think that's what shows people that even though obviously world titles are on the line, Errol Spence commercially isn't that big of the guy yet. But because he's cultivated a big crowd, he doesn't need the whole world to like tune in, because at least he knows I can fill stadiums in my part of the country. Obviously, the USA population wise is different to the UK, but I feel like UK wise we could replicate that model of making these big domestic fights, big things. Like, you don't just have to be fighting for the world title, and hopefully this sets a precedent. And then from here on, you've got Buatsi, who's on the verge of a world title. But even though these are domestic fights, these are still world level fighters.
Yeah.
So two things can be right at the same time.
So let's go Richards first before we Buatsi, because I feel like Richards. Yeah. I mean, Buatsi's path's a bit more simplified to an extent with the post fight interview. Richards now, are we looking at him to get another big domestic fight in the light heavyweight division, or what would you see for Buatsi? I mean, Richards going forward.
I think with Richards, big UK domestic fight. It depends on him really, because I feel like he probably is going to choose one of the belts and go up the rankings, and that might just involve him becoming like European title holder, or it might involve him just going up the rankings and maybe getting like an international belt or such. But like I said, if the money's right, I'll say take a big UK domestic fight, whether that's going to be against Callum Smith is there, Callum Johnson is there, depending on what commercial wise. I think if the money is worth it, do a domestic fight. If the money's not worth it, focus on one of the belts and climb up the rankings, because for me, he's a world title challenger. So I'll say that for Richards. Like, either get the money in the big UK domestic fights, or work your way up one of the title rankings. And I don't think he'll have too long to go, because he's shown his pedigree.
Yeah. And then Buatsi, I think we heard it post-fight where they were talking about it, and it's a case of, okay, let's see what Canelo Bivol do. If not, Eddie Hearn kind of alluded to the fact that they want to make this Bivol-Buatsi fight. Do you see that happening, or do you think Buatsi will have to, quote-unquote, wait his turn for Canelo to basically fight Bivol first?
For me...
If he does,
No,
if
go on.
he wait his time, bearing in mind what we've talked about Buatsi, where sometimes his career's been a bit stagnant, does he have to take a September fight? Does he have to take a September-October fight just to make sure he keeps that momentum going if Bivol and Canelo fight again?
I think even Virgil agreed. Virgil said that he wants Buatsi to take maybe one more in the interim. If it was up to me, I'd tell Canelo to fight Triple G, just so it's a good bounce back fight. No disrespect to Triple G when I say that, but I think it's a good fight. The Bivol fight right now is too fresh, and I feel like I don't know if Canelo can make as much adjustments in this short time to rematch Bivol straight away. So if it is a case of there's no Bivol rematch for Canelo, then it might be a case of either put Buatsi in there with Bivol now while the iron's hot, or put Buatsi in there with another like world title contender just to get him sharp again, just get him a good run before he faces Bivol either the end of the year or early next year. So I think that's the best case for Buatsi, but obviously it hinges on Canelo wanting that that Bivol fight. But in my opinion, Canelo should just take the Triple G fight, run down the DAZN contract, and like you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, David Benavidez and PBC is waiting for Canelo. So Canelo should just run down his DAZN contract. I think he's got 2 more fights. I get it. He wants to fight Bivol, but I think he should fight Triple G first, get that win back, get a good win in the column, and then face the winner of Buatsi first Bivol if that's the case. And I would love for that to have like a Canelo come to the UK to face Buatsi if Buatsi could pull off the facing Bivol feat.
I was just gonna say, if Buatsi somehow beats Bivol, then we can have that domestic fight. I mean, not domestic. We maybe could have Canelo fly over here, but that's fantasy booking, and that is a conversation for another episode. Today's episode, we are gonna wrap up. As always, guys, if you are enjoying the content, you know what to do. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Follow us on the new social media handles. It's now at StayWeighedIn. But Ray, I'm gonna obviously give you the final words before we wrap everything up. What's one thing that people should hear from you before we wrap up today?
Listen, hashtag StayWeighedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, All of that. Stay weighed in.
And with that, we are going to wrap up. As I said before, I appreciate you always for coming on the show, Ray.
Love as always.
As the man said himself, stay within love and peace, guys.